What is up? This is G, and we're going to talk about June. Hold on, I got an itch. My knee. All right, I got it. We're talking about June and Pisces. We're going to talk about your June 2023. Pisces in the house with G. We're going to talk about Jupiter, and we're going to talk about Taurus, and then we're going to talk about Jupiter again, and then we're going to talk about Taurus and the North Node in Jupiter. And then we have a new beginning towards the end of the month. So the short version, for those of you who can't watch a video for more than a minute and 60 seconds, the short version for you is something is being released in your goals and your ambitions. I'll go into more details about that. There will be new values, possibly even coworkers, maybe business. For some of you, business. This is a strong business vibration coming in. And then we have that new beginning, which will also kind of match this business vibration and possibly it being out of the home. So let me give you the details on this. Okay. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit of the backstory, Pisces. Okay. First of all, you're Pisces ascendant. And if you're a Pisces sun, you're really sensitive, right? Very sensitive, soft, empathy, understanding, unity. Some might say, think of Pisces as the rose-colored glasses. It wants to, it's enamored with stars and public figures in Hollywood, right? Because it's the movies, but it's music and sound and performances. That's strong Pisces energy. Now, Pisces, because it's for you watching who've got it on your ascendant, right? Your rising sign and ascendant are one and the same. And by the way, if you don't know what your ascendant is, and you're watching because you're a Pisces birthday, comment to me below and I will figure that out for you. That's the passion of this channel. All right. So just comment to me and I will help you out in any way I can. Now, Pisces can be a bit dramatic. And it's supposed to be because it is the actor. It is the performer, right? So there's something super, super exciting and beneficial that I am thinking about here. Not really thinking, but it's kind of like coming in. I am seeing costumes. I am seeing different colors, different costumes, something that would add to the theatrics even, right? Add to the theatrics. So does this mean you're like going to Hollywood or Bollywood or like, does this mean that? It doesn't have to be that, right? Think about even what I'm doing here right now is a little theatrical. I try to make it non-theatrical. At least I've been trying to etch away some of the stuff that looked more appealing and alluring and theatrical because I was really playing around with my own creativity, literally. And it was fun. I liked it. And I love creativity. But then I realized I felt like some of it was harming my message, harming like the mission statement of the channel. And so what I've been kind of focusing on is less of the theatrics, which would mean not that I'm theatrical, although somebody could argue that, but it meant that I kind of wanted to take away like all the little, the things that make it a little more alluring and maybe a little dreamy and maybe a little fantastical, right? And less Hollywoodish. Not that I am by any means Hollywoodish, but like, for example, you didn't hear my theme music at all in here, right? You didn't see the beginning opening. You didn't see any of that, right? So I'm trying to, and it's not to say that that's all gone forever. I'm always experimenting. I'm always experimenting. But I feel like for the authenticity and for you to feel who I am is important for you to understand the rawness of the just this is it. This is who I am. There's no bells and whistles. There's no facade. There's no makeup. There's no screen. There's no costume. This is all astrology. And I'm an astrology geek. So to me, like all those little things I just mentioned, I I used myself as an example to show you how for yourself you could do things, even though it's not Hollywood, but you could do things like have music, have a theme, have costumes, have whatever it is to make it something more appealing or to seem more of like a performance or an act of some sort, right? And so for some channels and on some platforms, depending upon what you're selling or what you're doing, that works. So if you're a channel all about fantasy, then that works totally because Pisces is all about fantasy and sci-fi and make-believe. It's also poetry and music and sound. And what happens when we listen to music? What happens when you hear a certain sound, right? I remember back in the day in grade school, they had like the fire alarm that would go off and we would do the fire drills. And now as an adult, like if I hear that crap, it just immediately takes me back. Like I am there, like as if I'm 7 years old again. And it's just like, just that quick by that sound, and smells, right? So it's all these things that can affect our perceptions and our reality. And that's Pisces energy. It blurs the lines of reality. And Pisces does a great job with that and usually may enjoy those types of things. Okay. So now all the stuff I'm talking about is related to Jupiter because Jupiter is considered the ancient ruler of Pisces. And Jupiter is big for the next 14 months of your life. So this is big in multiple ways for you because your ruler is going into the sign of Taurus. Taurus and you get along. You get along. You see eye to eye. You understand each other because Venus rules Taurus and Venus gets along with Jupiter. Venus gets along with Neptune. Neptune and Jupiter are both your rulers. Venus gets along with them. They go in that order. It's Venus, Jupiter, Neptune. They get along. All right. The thing about Jupiter, the difference between Jupiter and Neptune is Jupiter tends to think of the planet being the gas giant. It like expands. It's a gas giant, and you think of the way if Jupiter touches in on something, it can multiply it. It can multiply it. It adds to things. So we talk about Jupiter as though it can be exaggerations at times. So if someone's telling a story, they may embellish a little bit as they're telling the story because they want to make it a little bit more alluring, right? They want to embellish a little. They might stretch some of the little bits and pieces out to make a good story. And how many times does that happen? You read a book and you're like, damn, that book was so good. And then you go watch the movie, and in the movie, you've seen the changes they've made. And you're like, why did they make that change? Or they didn't include some details, right? Because on the screen, they understand that you can't always reproduce what can occur in the human's mind when they read something because your mind is so unique to you and it's imagery that it pulls up. The big screen, Hollywood, like they can't compete with that. So they may take something and be like, okay, we're not even going to try to do that. Let's do this. We can do this really well on the big screen. And so that's what they do, right? That's what they do. And so there may be some embellishment. They may stretch things. They may blur the lines of the story a little bit, right? And that's all Jupiter energy. And that's also the Pisces energy as well, right? So Jupiter touching in on Taurus. Let's talk a little bit more on Taurus. This happened mid-May. Jupiter touched in with Taurus energy. Taurus is your values. It's your money. It's your creature comforts. Okay. Taurus energy wants beauty and peace and goodness. It wants harmony. It wants the good stuff. It prefers butter over margarine. Absolutely every time. We're baking cookies. Don't use that damn margarine. We're using butter. You see the difference now? You see, Taurus wants things that are rich, that are delicious, It may like its sweets because Venus rules it. And absolutely, I used to call myself the butter queen for real. So you get where I'm going with Taurus. It rules the five senses and the creature comforts. So food is such a big deal with Taurus energy. And it doesn't have to be that you're crazy with your food, but you may be really into it. You may even be a really good cook. You may be a great chef in the kitchen, right? You can be gifted in culinary escapades, right? Even in culinary creations, you ever see those people who like take chocolate and do all these cool fancy artwork with it? That's strong Venus and Taurus energy right there. Okay. So Jupiter going into Taurus, it will expand all these things. But Taurus is also the tangible. It's my values. So it can be your money in the bank. Literally. It can be your money in the bank. And Taurus energy would be like, unless I'm holding it, I don't own it. You only own it if you hold it. So I think gold and commodities. And some people would say, no, that's more Capricorn energy, but Taurus likes fine things. It's going to collect art. It's going to collect gold coins and maybe silver, jewelry, diamonds. Like Taurus has an eye for that stuff. It also has, materials, textiles, clothing. Taurus is, yeah, think of the fashion models walking down the runways and the fashion designers. This is all Taurus stuff. So it is people who cut hair as well. They make people beautiful. Think of all the different ways you can make people beautiful. But some people use it in the home. They clean the home because they want to make it beautiful. They make the yard beautiful and they have this beautiful lawn art and whatever, right? It's all about beauty and goodness. And when Jupiter goes there, it's like, give me more, baby, because Taurus is how I receive. How you receive. And it's about mine. Like, this is mine. It's not yours. It's not ours. I bought this. This is mine. Mine. I will put this away. It's mine. My housemates had a discussion the other day. It's a great example. They're married and they do really well with sharing everything, right? They're a couple, right? They're not this, that's yours, that's mine kind of crap. Until it comes down to the food. That's a different story. For the most part, there's the sharing thing, but one of them has a tendency to indulge in the other person's favorite items, and then there will all of a sudden be none of it, and the other person's like, what the hell? Where's my stuff? And so I caught on to this, and I'm like, you see that? That's my name on that. It's there for a reason, because if that's your thing and you bought it, and somebody who didn't buy it and it's not their favorite thing, they go ahead and they eat the rest of it. You're like, what the frick? I didn't know I was out, right? And you're like, holy shit, I had a taste for that, right? So I said all that because they kind of had a conversation about that. And it was over something super simple. It was over tea. We have fresh mint out in the yard. And so it's spring and the fresh mint's popping up. And so my one housemate has this wonderful lavender tea that she makes that was gifted to her, right? And then she gets fresh mint from the yard and she makes lavender mint tea and she keeps it for the summertime in the refrigerator iced, right? Well, her spouse will drink anything. Her spouse loves beverages, liquids. He's a Pisces. Need I say more? Any liquids of any kind this person consumes. And they're a big consumer of liquids, right? And so she's making her tea and he's just like, I might want some of that. And you can just hear her voice like, because if he says, I might want some of that, that means she's going to make it and spend the time to make it and make it the way she likes it. It's tea, right? So you put just the amount of sweetener, or do you even want sweetener? Hell, you might even want lemon in it, right? So she makes her tea and he's like, I might want some of that. And for her, it was like, that means I'm going to make my tea. And when I want some, there will be none left. Because this has happened repeatedly with multiple things. So it's that, the whole frustration, of sharing and saying, but this is mine. We have lots of things that are ours. This, however, is mine. And so when it comes to Taurus and Jupiter coming there, it will add to your values. It will add to what you think and what you call your own. Now, what I want to emphasize here is this is in your third house of communication. This is in your third house of thoughts and thinking. This is your third house of social media. You follow what I'm saying here? This is your third house. Your third house is networking. Your third house is coworkers. It is your local community. It's your local community. So like my next door neighbor, but it's also your online digital local community. So e-commerce, the social platforms, it's all of that. That is the third house. Okay. It's the telephone in your hand and that device. It's short trips, short journeys. It's communications of all sorts, email, snail mail. It's communications. So we're talking, we're communicating, we're sharing ideas. We're the scribe, we're the reporter. You have Taurus in the third, so you're going to do it in a really beautiful way. This is a huge benefit for you. Your voice may sound beautiful. When you talk, people may be like, damn, I like listening to that person. Like, I just like the sound of their voice. Some people, you hear their voice and it's like, God, there's something about it where you're like, okay, I can't listen to them. Right? When I was a kid, I always thought it was just, I don't know. It was a teacher I didn't like or whatever, but I didn't really comprehend the tones at times could be just like, oh, hell no, I can't do that. Now I'm like, I can't do that. But you have a benefit here because Taurus and Venus, third house, it's beautiful. It's harmonic. It's harmonic. So it's rich. It's rich sounding. So it's almost soothing to the ears. It's pleasant to hear, pleasant words and a pleasant sound. You have the ability to do both. Maybe you hum, maybe you sing. If you look up vocalists who have wonderful voices, number one at the top of that list is Taurus. Powerful vocalists, Leo and Taurus is very powerful vocals. Okay. Now in the third house, Jupiter here, for the next 14 months of your life. So it's going to take that third house and blow it up. All of a sudden, you have more friends, you have more neighbors, you have more siblings, you have more peers, you have more coworkers. You're going to be busy communicating. Communications is just going to go off the chain for you because the third house is very busy anyway. But now you've got Taurus always there, but Jupiter comes along. So we have the North Node in Jupiter that touch in at 3 degrees. That's right at the beginning of June. Like I'm talking May 31st, June 1st. They touch in at 3 degrees. So look in your chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees of Taurus energy. If you've got something there and you're like, holy crap, gee, comment to me and I'll help you figure that. I'll help you to decipher that and to figure out the meaning of it. Or if you don't even know, comment to me and we'll take a look for you. Okay. Now, that's just at the beginning of June. Another event happens on the 3rd of June, and that event is also a Jupiter event. This is Jupiter full moon because it's a Sagittarius full moon. Now, this usually, when we talk about the moon and Sagittarius, the moon and Jupiter, this is usually something that could be emotional and have to do with the family and feelings and emotions, but because it's Jupiter and the moon, I think of the public. So in other words, this may be something on a large scale, especially for those of you who have something at 13 degrees and 17 minutes in the sign of Sagittarius. And I will just throw in here that the United States, this is their ascendant. The United States, the country, has the degrees, 12 degrees on their ascendant. So they're having a full moon on their ascendant. This is a closure, an ending, and a release. Possibly foreigners, foreign lands, foreign languages, because that's Sagittarius energy. Something is closing off. Something is ending. This is also the justices. This is the Supreme Court. This is the judges. This is unconscious judgments. This is freedoms. This is truth. This is wisdom. Something is being released. Now for you, find out where your Sagittarius energy is in your chart. You have Sagittarius in your 10th house of goals and ambitions, what I do professionally, but possibly just simply a vocation, like something you just work at and you don't even get paid for, but you feel like it is your duty, like it is your responsibility. Having Jupiter there, these people who have Jupiter at their 10th house, these are like astronauts, man. Like they want to journey, they want to go off the planet, even. They want to seek and they want to experience, but they want to learn. They're learning about themselves. So they're searching for truth. They're searching for what is out there. I know if I could cue in like the Star Trek music right now, it would be perfect. But you get where I'm going with this, right? And that's what this is. So there may be some sort of an ambition, some sort of a goal, some sort of a thing that you were doing. Maybe it was even a goal to travel, maybe overseas. This could have to do with somebody that is a foreigner. This could have to do with higher education, extended education. It could have to do with spirituality and religion. There's a release here. 13 degrees, 17 minutes. So we will give it a 2-degree orb. So we're talking 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees of Sag, a release, a closure, and an ending. Feminine energy can be prevalent, might be family and home and emotions, something there for you. Okay. Now we move to the third week in June and we have a new beginning. This is a new beginning in Gemini. Ding, 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 ding. Mercury rules this new moon. This is the last powerful, significant new moon of 2023. The first 3 new moons of the lunar new year are always the most important in terms of setting up your next 12 months. Because the first one was in Aries, the second one was in Taurus. Aries initiates, Taurus is the desire factor. It's magnetic. It can pull it in. It's my values. And the third one is the mind. We say, this is what I'm doing. It starts with my thought. You follow? So this is it. This is it. This was what you were thinking about, what you were tinkering around with, like I want to start this, but Aries is all about starting and never, ever has the follow through. But then Taurus does. The next new moon, Taurus had the follow through, right? Taurus said, okay, I know what I got to do to get this finished. And so it started picking it back up again and said, okay, let's work with this a little bit more. It started reprioritizing its values. And then Gemini said, I'm going to use the power of this next new moon and I'm going to write my intentions down because that's what this is all about. It is the ability to write my intentions and to say, I'm using my mind. I am using the power and the thought of my mind to bring in what I desire, to manifest that which I want. And this is all in Gemini energy for you. So Mercury ruled talking and thinking. You see why your Jupiter energy in Taurus is such a big deal? Because it was in your 3rd house. And that is the house of Gemini. You see? So this new moon is really connected to the values and the priorities that you set up earlier in the month. You had a release and then you said, this is my new value. And then here comes the new moon to say, okay, I'm serious about this. I'm even writing this shit down, or I'm speaking it out into the universe, or I'm doing both. I might have a candle. I might light my candle. I might have a ceremony. I might meditate. I might, who knows, but I may do something new, learn something new, Gemini, because I'm serious about this. Let's find out where this is for you. More specifically for Pisces, this is your 4th house. This is at home. Thoughts that emotionally satisfy you, thoughts that nurture you, communication that nurtures you. Gemini in your 4th house, social media, social platforms, e-commerce, social media at home, possibly out of the home. You follow? This is where we started the video off with, right? Remember at the beginning? This is a new moon and it is at 26 degrees and 43 minutes. Look in your chart to see if you have something there. If you do, you will know. Something will likely happen. There will likely be a bit of information coming through, a communication, a phone call, something that's all about Gemini. Likely, some of you may be like, gee, this is all about family. Typically, it's both. It's never normally about one thing. when you write down all the keywords for Gemini and then write down all the keywords for the fourth house, and you take a look at that and all the keywords for Mercury, right? Because Mercury rules Gemini, and some of those keywords are all the same. You look at that and you're like, holy shit. All these, I can check off all these boxes of all these things that are happening. And it might not be evident, my Mercury, my mind, it might not be evident at the moment, but keep track and write that down with dates. And then a year from now, look back and see. And trust me, you'd be amazed. You would absolutely be amazed to how far you've come. Okay. When we have a new moon in Gemini, it is really truly about reprioritizing with the thoughts we keep here. And once we do that, once we change that, once we set that intention and we're like, man, those are some self-limiting thoughts I have. I'm done with that crap. It does not serve me. I'm letting it go. And I am only going to have thoughts that lift me up and that make me feel emotionally secure. So having Gemini in the fourth house, I was just talking in the other video about how the fourth house is our security blanket. So what do you use as your security blanket, Pisces? You use communication, possibly siblings and friends and coworkers. There's something about the exchange of information back and forth, the rapport. There's something about that that literally feeds you. And unfortunately, sometimes you might not even realize it, but there may be people that you have accepted to communicate with just for the sake of communication. But you may realize some of those people, some of those communications weren't so great. They weren't so uplifting. It's one of those things where it's like we almost made a trade-off because we're like, but they feel like my sibling. They feel like, they're my coworker. We're friends, but then you realize, sometimes I walk away not feeling so good. Right. And so setting an intention is simply saying, I want this for my future. I'm only going to communicate in ways that are uplifting and positive, right? I am surrounded by people who emotionally satisfy me. That's a really good one. I surround myself with people who emotionally satisfy me. Okay. Now there is balance in all of this. Okay. I'm not trying to create people to be, selfish. It's not about that. These are for people who understand that they sacrifice, your Pisces, that sacrifice, that they give too much, and that they have to strike a balance somewhere, that they've allowed people to be into their lives who might be toxic. And then, we have to kind of do things to nurture ourselves. And this new moon is saying, nurture yourself with your thoughts and be more selective with those that you allow in your mind. Be more selective. It's the same teaching that Jesus gave about weeding the garden, get rid of the weeds in the garden. Otherwise, the weeds will overtake the garden. But I'm also hearing that it's the casting the pearls among swine. Do not cast your pearls among swine. Some of you may have other things in your chart that prevent you from doing that. You might have a smart communication in your chart, right? You might have a high level of discernment that says don't share your true nuggets with those who aren't worthy of it. And it doesn't mean like there's people who are just, that aren't worthy in the sense of I'm better than them. It's talking about people who really are there just to they're just consumers. They're just takers. They could be energy vampires, whatever. You know who those people are in your life. Do not cast your pearls among those swine. Okay. So that just kind of popped in. So for whoever that's for. All right. That's the new moon on the 17th and the 18th of June. It's at 11:37 p.m. So adjust for the time zone that you live in. And remember that 8 hours before a new moon, those are the hours of power where you set your intentions, because it's that time where the energy is most potent. It's a potent time to literally make manifest that which you desire. And there's something with your thoughts. There's something with even business and communications, because Gemini is business and trade and learning, right? There is something that has to do with your home and your networking, right? And the way that you communicate, the way you exchange information. It's busy, busy Gemini. Remember, though, it is the jack of all trades, but a master of none. So here in the home, it's saying if you can just narrow it down to a list of just 3, and then once you've got it down to just a list of 3, get it down, pick one out that you're going to focus on and give it a good old college try, as they say, and really focus in on that and see what happens for you. You might see that things just really blossom in ways that you just never thought possible. Okay, Pisces. So please, please, please let me know how this works out for you. And if you have any confusion, if you need help, if you don't know and you want to know, comment below. I'll help you out in any way I can. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.